Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, or whenever. If you're into time, that's up to you. I'm not into time myself. Time is a man-made creation so they can organise society and civilization according to the daylights and the times and the years. I want to put an idea in about Atlantis and Lemuria, the civilizations that existed before the Great Catastrophe, as explained by people like Brian Foster and Graham Hancock, many others, too long to list, what give us insights to advanced civilizations or created fabulous mega structures using technology that I know as a mason we don't have today. And I was a refractory mason, and we use advanced masonry techniques which are similar to the ones of Puma Punka, but that's beside the point. If there is Atlantis, if there was Atlantis, if it is not a myth, and it's not a myth, we now can be pretty certain it wasn't a myth. How did it advance its civilization? What environment and climates did it have that allowed it to do that? And maybe there was one in the Pacific as well. Maybe there were three in the different oceans: the Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and the Pacific Ocean. And the reason it's come to my mind that this may have been possible over why a civilization would advance itself so much to gain such amazing insight into how to use stone the way it does, beyond our imagination, how they could use stone and move it and all of that and build with it. There's some sort of incredible feats of the mind. That's because when they lived in these islands in the Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean, they were free from the ice ages. The ice ages came and went over thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, kept whatever life forms developed in those areas. In between the ice ages, they were destroyed by the ice ages. Then other systems and primitive people moved in and come to live there again. The people who were Atlanteans and Lemurians and all these other people, they lived on islands and quite large places, because the sea was 400 feet lower, and it's difficult. There's a thing called isostasy, so it's very difficult to measure exactly how low the ocean floor is compared with the sea level is today, because isostasy means the land moves up and down. It also means the ocean floors may move up and down as well. So there are differentials there we don't quite understand, and it would be very difficult to verify. Very difficult indeed to ascertain exactly the depth. So we do not know exactly the extent of the landmass that these people inhabited. What we can be certain of, because they had a constant supply of food, which is fish, which was in massive abundance until the Middle Ages, and people started shipping from Europe and started decimating the fishing stocks in the Atlantic. We know before that the fish was such massive abundance, a culture that lived on islands isolated from being attacked by primitive cultures elsewhere in the world could concentrate on developing their minds and technology, because their food production was a certainty. If your food production is a certainty, then half your battle for living is over. If you know you've got that sorted, and because it was fish, they then allowed them to develop their sailing skills, and that's why they become advanced sailors. Through fishing and trading, therefore they become traders. That's why I'm suggesting now with all the evidence brought to us by all the brilliant people who work in this field, the archaeologists and simply people with a born curiosity about anything in general, and not inhibited by religion or orthodoxy of science or whatever, want to keep discovering and discovering and discovering what the truth really is, which is hard to exactly ascertain. But we can know that if we live on an island or connection of island, which is our empire, and I said we're quite safe for thousands of years, we can know, we can develop our minds, therefore technology differently, with vibrations and resonances that then allows us to move and shape stones, etc. With technology we still have no idea. We can imagine they use crystals in some ways, but we don't really know. Maybe science does, but it doesn't want to say. The thing is, I think that answers the fact that Atlantis, Lemuria, maybe one in the Indian Ocean, a civilization there, was advanced, extremely advanced civilizations in a way we don't quite understand, because we have got an organisation, a government and control because of crime, corruption and all of that. We can imagine their advanced civilization had little crime or little corruption, because there was such an abundance of food, and it means there's abundance of leisure. So you can put your mind to other things. How do you use your mind when you've got leisure, but you're not into distractions of tweeting on a technology and all like that? You're actually thinking amongst others. And if you have 3 or 4 people who are like-minded and have complete empathy, well, if you have that, and if you had that experience with someone, you will then know the power of the mind quadruples with 2 people who've got a like mind. With 4 people, the power of the mind is amplified to an astonishing degree, if you're all based on a similar logic. Okay, that's on that. So that suggests that if you're in Atlantis and you've got your empire is all safe and secure from food shortages, because the vicissitudes of climates don't visit. Yes, it rains and it's a variable. Your vicissitudes of climate does not visit your food stock. Your food stock is a certainty in your fish, your basic food stock. And if we look at the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, we can then see, well, that was a model, because you put water up to the top of that. You know you can grow a vast amount of food in a desert by having a garden several stories high, and each story the food, it's hydroponic system which goes from top to the bottom. You can take moisture out of the air if you want, so you don't have to. The thing that there's no water in the desert and stuff like that is really a political matter, an economic matter, who can control the resources rather than a factual matter, because we know when they built the Hanging Garden of Babylon, I imagine the advanced technology they may have had allowed them to take moisture out of the air. That means there is no food shortage as other ones, otherwise there's a lack of civilization in our systems today. That's just a little reflection on why Atlantis flourished, because it wasn't disturbed by primitive invaders. It could defend its islands very easily. It had a fabulous seafaring nature. It could trade. It had abundance of food. It had the leisure and the eons of thousands of years of time to develop its way of thinking and its civilization, its culture, its knowledge of the stars. That's the clue. It takes thousands and thousands of years to develop the astrological table, because each one takes 20,000 years to go through the cycle. It takes a long, long time to make that observation. That is the clue. How they sustained their ability was living in places that were safe and they could feed themselves and develop a very nice leisure lifestyle that we can only envy. That was the golden age. That this mysterious golden age, I suggest, is answered in that. I'm Graham Gordon Thomas, and I'm humbly grateful to Robert Shark, Graham Hancock, Brian Foster, and everyone else. I'm not familiar with all their names, but I'm humbly grateful to all those people to making our lives so damned interesting. When we're faced with such boring orthodoxy, we were told what to believe by the politically correct crowd that want to run the place now. Anyway, Atlantis wasn't a myth, it was a fact. How they existed is now quite obvious. Good on you, Plato. So we didn't have a chat.